Hello teacher, my name is Heidy and I will be making a small introduction. So, according to what was seen in class, for this delivery we implemented tools such as Docker to orchestrate the different services of the application and GitHub Actions to constantly review the code when performing push or pull. We also will be using Amazon Web Services resources like EC2 and ECR. And there will be some examples of these implementations too, of course.
The AWS resources used are follows. Amazon Elastic Container Register is an AWS managed container image register service that is secure, scalable, and reliable. The components of Amazon ACR are register, authorization token, repository, policy, and repository mesh. Another service is Amazon Relational Database Service is a collection of managed services that make it easy to configure, operate, and scale a database in the cloud. For databases that use the following engines: MySQL, MariaDB, PostgreSQL, Oracle, and SQL Service. Last we have Amazon Elastic Compute Cloud. Is a web service that provides secure, resizable computing capacity in the cloud. This service offers many options that help us create and run practically any application, using instance allows you to cover various combination of CPU, memory, storage, and network capacity, which provides flexibility and choosing the right combination of resources for an application.
What is Docker? Docker is a software platform that simplifies the process of creating, testing, and deploying applications. It does this by packaging software into standardized Unix node as containers, which contain everything necessary for the software to run smoothly. These include libraries, system tools, code, and the runtime environment. With Docker, you can deploy and expand your application rapidly in any environment while being confident that your code will work as expected.
What is GitHub Actions? GitHub Actions is a continuous integrations and deployment platform that allows you to automate your build, test, and deployment roadmap. You can create workflows, build, and test every change request in your repository or deploy merge change requests to production. GitHub Actions goes beyond just DevOps and allows you to run workflows when other events happen in your repository.
So when we're talking about the Docker file inside the front-end app, we first of all we need to understand what is inside of it. So we set the working directory to /app and we copy package.json to install the necessary Node.js dependencies. The application code is copied into the container. After that, we run npm run build to build the front end of our application. The next from statement specifies that the image is based on the official Nginx image. We copy the build front-end code into the appropriate location for the Nginx, and the unnecessary Nginx configuration are removed, and our custom nginx.conf is added. After that, our port 80 is exposed to allow HTTP traffic, and finally the Docker container is running in the Nginx server to the front-end application. Finally, we need to make the configuration of the Docker file from the backend. In the backend, we start with an Alpine image based in Node.js. So the working directory is set to /opt/app/backend, and the backend application code is copied into the container. We install PM2 globally to manage our Node.js application, and after that we apply the dependencies installed using npm CI. Finally, the container is configured to run the application using PM2, and that's how our Docker files works um, from the backend and the frontend.
Hi teacher, I'm Dilan and I'm going to talk about the GitHub Action implementation. So we have two code repositories, one is for the backend, the other one is for the frontend, and in both of them we have the deployment action, the deployment workflow and the pull request workflow. The deployment workflow allows us to deploy the code into production for both of the repositories, and the pull request allow us to run some tests when a pull request is created for merge into the main branch and the development branch. Let's read some code into the deployment workflow. The idea here is to this workflow is going to be triggered when a push is being performed into the main branch. Then we create the image. This image tag is for the image name that we create in order to run the container. We first get access to the repository. We create an M file. This M file is for the backend. We get some variables here as the port, the hostname, the database information, and this information we retrieve this information from the repository itself. So we have created some variables and secrets. In order to do that, we get into the AWS. So the idea here is to log into the AWS. We use an OIDC in order to log in without credentials. Instead of that, we get a role. We create a role into the AWS, and then we gave permission into the AWS to use resources that are requested from this repository, and then we log into the ECR, that is like a Docker image container in AWS. Then we build the images. We run build, and then we push the images. Then we connect to EC2 in order to run the containers there. We get the credential from the repository as well, like the secrets and the variables for the hostname, username, etc. And then we get access with SSH, and we pull the image from the ECR. We stop and remove the old container that is running the old code, and then we run the new container that has the new image that we have just created. And then we do some clean with the images. So we prune the images. All the old images that are not attached to a running container are going to be deleted with this. That's for the deployment workflow. And for the pull request workflow, we're doing this for the main and the develop branches. So the idea here is to get access to the repository, set up a node version in this case, and install the dependencies, and then run some tests with npm run test. And that's it for the backend. Let's talk about the frontend. In this part, we have the deployment and the pull request GitHub workflows as well. Let's talk about the deployment. Again, it's being triggered when a push is made into the main branch. We get access to the repository. We create an M file. This M file in the front end, we use this for the backend URL or the API URL that the information is coming from. and then we authenticate with AWS again with OIDC. Then we log into the ECR again, we build the image, we deploy then into the EC2, retrieve again the information from the repository, like the private key, the hostname, username, etc. And we pull the image into the EC2, stop the old containers, and run the new one. And again, prune the images. And the pull request workflow is kind of the same thing. We run this for the main and develop pull request. We get access to the repository, set up a node version, install the dependencies, and run the tests. And that's it. Let's see action, a workflow running for the front end, and I think that's it. Hey, so I'm here and I'm going to show you how the two workflows work. So I'm going to change this title that is in the ingressar tab. I'm going to change this for some more meaningful message. So I'm going to go to look for this message in the front-end code. This is the front-end code, and this is the message. So we are going to put some meaningful message here, and I'm going to do this change in the development branch. So this is the development branch. Let's do a pull just in case, and I'm going to add this change, and I'm going to push it into the development branch in our remote. This is an old workflow, don't pay attention to this. And the idea here is that we have our use push code in development where we change the title. Let's do a pull request into the main. Let's create this pull request, and you'll see that the action is being performed here. Here you see that the pull request workflow is being performed when we create the, here you see, when we create the PR. So let's wait for it. I think it's going to work well. We can see it here. So the workflow just finished, and we're now able to merge this pull request into the main. Once we merge this, the deployment workflow is going to start. Let's see if the action, okay, here is the deployment workflow, and let's check it out. I'm going to show you one thing. This is our ECR repository in the AWS console. As you see, there's no image here, and once the deployment workflow is in the halfway, we're going to be able to see this image being pushed in this repository. We are currently building and tagging and pushing the image into the ECR, so it's going to be here real quick. It should say pushed at the end of this step. As you see, it says pushed, and now we are going to be able to see the image. Here is the image that we just pushed with our workflow, and Now the image was pulled into the EC2 and was deployed. So let's refresh our page and we'll see that we now have the te extrañamos text here with the change. Okay, that's it. Thank you so much.